The big news of the morning, of course, Michael Cohen heads to the Hill. Now, this is his only public testimony. He testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee yesterday. That was behind closed doors. And then there is the Senate committee that he's going to speak to tomorrow. That is also behind closed doors. Today is the only public testimony that Michael Cohen will be giving. Suffice it to say, Republicans are very unhappy with Michael Cohen. Democrats basically have stopped visiting Pornhub for the day because the Cohen testimony is on live on C-SPAN. So there's plenty to watch if you are a Democrat. We're going to go through Michael Cohen's testimony right now. So he pre-released his written testimony. This is normal in congressional hearings. You release a written version of the testimony that is given to members of the committee so they can prepare their questions. I would not expect that the questions are going to elicit much in the way of new information. Basically, Republicans are going to try to impeach the witness, and Democrats are going to try to build up his credibility. That's essentially how the day is going to go on the Hill. But here is what Michael Cohen testified. Well, he began by asking the committee to ensure that his family be protected from presidential threats and that the committee be sensitive to the questions pertaining to ongoing investigations. The reason he says this is because over the last several weeks, the president of the United States has tweeted out stuff about Michael Cohen's father-in-law. And then last night, Matt Gaetz, who's a Republican from Florida, tweeted something out that is quite wild. He tweeted out that Michael Cohen should essentially watch his back when it comes to allegations about him and other women. Gaetz tweeted out, "Hey, Michael Cohen, 212, that's at Michael Cohen. Do your wife and father-in-law know about your girlfriends? Maybe tonight would be a good time for a chat. I wonder if she'll remain faithful when you're in prison. She's about to learn a lot." And then, weirdly enough, Matt Gaetz went and actually got Frank Pentangeli's brother to sit behind Michael Cohen in the witness hearing. Okay, this is not a good look. Okay, it's actually a violation of law. You are not allowed to threaten a witness. It's pretty obvious this is called threatening a witness. Here was Matt Gaetz then doing the same thing on the House floor.
I guess tomorrow we will find out if there is anyone that Michael Cohen hasn't lied to. We already know he lied to Congress. We already know he lied to law enforcement, lied to the IRS, lied to 3 banks, and he's going to prison for his lies. And so I guess it will be relevant for us to determine, does he lie to his own family? Does he lie to his financiers? Does he lie to his financiers who are members of his family? And it'll be one heck of an inquiry for us, because this is someone who has tangled such a web of lies that he is not to be believed. And I think it is entirely appropriate for any member of this body to challenge the truthfulness and veracity and character for the people who have a history of lying and have a future that undoubtedly contains nothing but lies.
I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but it's very weird to go after Michael Cohen's personal life with regard to his girlfriends while defending the president of the United States, who literally has slept with everything. Okay, that's the reason that we're having a hearing today is because President Trump stooped a porn star back in 2006 and then tried to pay her off with $130,000 via Michael Cohen. This is a very weird line of attack. Nancy Pelosi then, of course, got up and warned Matt Gaetz and suggested that the Ethics Committee could be looking into all of this. She said, "I encourage all members to be mindful that comments made on social media or in the press can adversely affect the ability of House committees to obtain the truthful and complete information necessary to fulfill their duties." Okay, so that was the lead up to Michael Cohen's testimony this morning. And it's not a good look, okay? That's not something Republicans should be engaged in. Not only that, it's disgusting, frankly, to be threatening witnesses with, "By the way, nudge, nudge, you may have girlfriends and your wife doesn't know about." Come on. Here's the truth. It is not very difficult to impeach Michael Cohen as a witness. He's a convicted perjurer. He pled guilty to perjuring himself before Congress. If you want to cast doubt on his accounts, all you have to do is say, "Right, last time you were here, you were lying to us and you're going to jail over it. So I'm going to go with no on everything you say unless you've got some corroborating evidence." Okay, in any case, Michael Cohen goes before the committee and he talks about President Trump. Now, most of what he had to say is just simple gossip. Most of it doesn't go to actual crime. It's essentially juicy stuff that makes people feel the way they've already felt about Trump. So if you're a big Trump fan, you're going to dismiss most of this as bitter grapes from Michael Cohen, as sour grapes from Michael Cohen, that he essentially is just digging up everything bad he can say about Trump so that he can rehabilitate himself in the eyes of the media and in the eyes of the left, so he can get that strange new respect that James Comey and former FBI acting director Andrew McCabe have gotten from the left. And so if you're a Republican, that's basically where you're going to go with this. If you're a Democrat, you're going to say, right, this is what I always knew about Trump. I always knew he was a racist and a liar and a cheat. Now, if you're somebody like me, and you tend to believe that the president has some fundamental lacks of character, because he does. If you're somebody who looks at this as objectively as possible, there are 3 baskets into which Cohen's testimony falls. One is legal problems, like legal impeachable problems for the president. There's not much in the way of that in this testimony. We'll get to that. Basket number 2 is stuff that is upsetting, but not impeachable. And basket number 3 is stuff that is just funny as hell. Okay, and and really, there are those 3 categories in this testimony. All 3 are here. So let's go through Michael Cohen's testimony. We're going to do it in shorter fashion so you don't actually have to listen to Michael Cohen's interminable recitation of his own testimony. Because number 1, I read faster than he does, and number 2, I cut out all the self-congratulatory nonsense. So Michael Cohen led off by saying that many people doubt and attacks his credibility. He says, "It is for this reason I've incorporated into this opening statement documents that are irrefutable and demonstrate that the information you will hear is truthful and accurate." Now, that is true about some of the things he says. It is not true about others of the things he says. So his most damning claims about President Trump, the only one that is really backed by any documentary evidence, is stuff we already knew, like President Trump signing checks to Michael Cohen to essentially reimburse him for paying off Stormy Daniels in the middle of the election cycle. That stuff has some documentary evidence, but we knew that already. The most damning claims, the stuff where he suggests that Trump knew about WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, which we'll get to in a second, or the stuff where he suggests that Trump knew about the Trump Tower meeting, there's no documentation of that whatsoever. Not only that, but the language Trump even used, according to Michael Cohen's own recitation of the facts, is substantially vague enough that it makes it very difficult to believe that Trump was actively involved, for example, in Russian collusion. In any case, Cohen says, "Never in a million years did I imagine when I accepted a job in 2007 to work for President Trump that he would one day run for president, launch a campaign on a platform of hate and intolerance, and actually win." Now, this is Cohen's pitch for, guys, you really should love me. Like, please love me. This is his pitch to Elijah Cummings and the Democratic members of the House. Love me. I said the president's a racist and that he's hateful and intolerant. Love me. Well, if you thought all this stuff, dude, then why were you on his campaign as one of his leads on TV? I love all the people who leave and then they're like, oh yeah, it was hate and intolerance. That was the real problem here with Trump. Like, you were fine with it for years. Like, you were fine with it for a long, long time, dude. Like, all the way through the campaign and then beyond the campaign. He says, "I regret the day I said yes to Mr. Trump. I regret all the help and support I gave him along the way." He said he's ashamed of his own failings. He says, "I'm ashamed of my weakness and misplaced loyalty. I'm ashamed I chose to take part in concealing Mr. Trump's illicit acts rather than listening to my own conscience. I am ashamed," says Michael Cohen, "because I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist. He is a con man. He is a cheat." Okay. That, of course, is going to be the punchline, and that will be the headline in the New York Times. Trump's personal attorney, Trump, racist, con man, cheat. Right? That's going to be the line, and he knows it. He says, Michael Cohen says, that Trump was a presidential candidate who knew that Roger Stone was talking with Julian Assange about a WikiLeaks drop of Democratic National Committee emails. Now, the implication here is that it would be illegal for Trump to know about it. Now, there are 2 claims that are being made. 1, he knew that Roger Stone was talking to Assange about the WikiLeaks drop. 2, the claim made by Democrats is that Trump was actually helping coordinate with WikiLeaks, i.e. the Russian government, the drop of the emails. Nothing in Cohen's account backs claim number 2. So there's evidence for claim number 1, namely his testimony, that Stone had told Trump that WikiLeaks was going to drop the emails. There is nothing to claim number 2, which is that Trump was then telling WikiLeaks when and where to release the emails. As we'll get to, this may be yucky, but it is not, in fact, illegal, and in fact, it really isn't even atypical in American politics. Cohen says, "I'm providing the committee today with several documents. These include a copy of a check Mr. Trump wrote from his personal bank account after he became president to reimburse me for the hush money payments I made to cover up his affair with an adult film star and prevent damage to his campaign. Copies of financial statements for 2011 to 2013 that he gave to such institutions as Deutsche Bank. A copy of an article with Mr. Trump's handwriting on it that reported on the auction of a portrait of himself. He arranged for the bidder ahead of time and then reimbursed the bidder from the account of his nonprofit charitable foundation, with the picture now hanging in one of his country clubs. He's under investigation by the New York AG for the misuse of Trump Foundation funds, which is why the Trump Foundation has been temporarily shuttered. Copies of letters, says Cohen, I wrote at Mr. Trump's direction that threatened his high school, colleges, and the college board not to release his grades or SAT scores." Okay, that's just hilarious. Like, I'm sorry, like that part, remember, there are the 3 baskets: illegal, bad, hilarious. That last one kind of falls into hilarious. Like, Trump was so insecure that he had Michael Cohen sending letters to Wharton saying, "Don't release my grades, guys. Like, don't do it." But writing into his college to suggest that he may not release his SAT scores, wrote into Fordham and said, "Don't release my SAT score. Don't do it. I'm so brilliant. I think it would just embarrass others if they knew what my SAT scores were." Come on, that's funny stuff. Okay, I'm going to get to more of Michael Cohen's testimony, why it's important, why it's not important, in just 1 second.